We're going through the biggest transformation since we moved from horses to cars.
General Motors is cutting some of its slow-selling gas-powered passenger vehicles, like the ones built in Oshawa. And GM says it doesn't have enough products or any new ones to keep the assembly lines going.
We've retooled the Oshawa plant in the last 2 years. We put $500 million into the Oshawa plant in the last 2 years. And so we can always retool the plant. That's not the issue. We can always do that. What we have to do is there's only so many products that a company makes.
In the center of America's auto industry, Detroit's mayor wants to convince GM to stay.
I want us to do everything possible to explore the possibility of saving what I think even GM would acknowledge is a good and modern plant.
But in Ohio, the reality has already sunk in.
This isn't just a GM issue. People aren't buying cars.
Last spring, Ford said it would stop building nearly all of its North American cars to focus on trucks and SUVs.
When you look at a crossover, an SUV, and light truck, they are highly profitable vehicles for these manufacturers. So it's more beneficial for them from a financial standpoint to build what the consumer wants.
Ford Canada says it will not be shutting down any of its plants.
No plans to do anything like that, no.
As GM makes its shift to more electric, autonomous vehicles, there is hope from auto parts manufacturers that some of that business could still be rooted in Ontario.
Ontario is the only place in North America that is at the center of a global automotive production cluster, but also the center of a globally relevant IT cluster.
And Jacqueline is here in Oshawa tonight. So Jacqueline, how could GM's decision to close this plant have a ripple effect beyond?
Well, we talked to one Canadian auto parts maker, Martin Rea, and it assembles parts that go into the cars here. And it says that as soon as operations in Oshawa stop, it will close its assembly plant in Ajax. So the 77 people who work there will lose their jobs.
And then that's it? I mean, nothing can be done for them?
Well, the company says that it will try to relocate them if they're willing, but think of the thousands of other workers at auto parts and tools makers that supply this plant. The association that represents those workers says that GM spends about $3 billion each year on car parts and tools in Canada. So this could be a big blow to the industry. But Andrew, if you think about how this is affecting GM so far, investors, it seems to be going over well with them. The company's stock price closed higher by about 5%.
Okay. Jacqueline Hansen, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Now, MPs on all sides agreed to hold a rare late-night emergency debate in Ottawa on the best way to support workers. So what is the government prepared to do? Catherine Cullen has more on the politics of reassuring workers that they're ready to help.
This is disappointing news.
Absolutely devastating.
Today is obviously a very difficult day.
Incredibly devastating.
Last night, Oshawa was devastated.
I'm not happy about it.
That's one thing it seems all politicians can agree on. They also seem to be struggling with what to do about it.
We have to pick ourselves up, get back on our feet, and be as positive as we can.
Ontario's premier says he's determined to support GM workers, but says there's no hope of saving the plant.
They're gone. They're done. They told me straight up, there's nothing we can do.
The federal government, though, isn't entirely ruling out a future for the plant.
If the opportunity is there, we're willing to be a partner. This is really about defending the automotive sector.
But there don't seem to be specifics.
We're going to do everything we can to help the workers.
For years, the Liberals have been trying to stop a shutdown.
Hello, so nice to meet you.
Including meeting the CEO of GM back in 2016. But even then,
at this stage, when it came to Oshawa, they're still determining the future of that.
That this is happening in an election year in such a vote-rich part of the country surely heightens political concern. A concern that may irk Albertans who have been clamoring for help for the struggling energy sector and feeling neglected.
If there was this kind of economic crisis going on in the manufacturing sector in Ontario, we're pretty sure it would make its way into the first two paragraphs of the fiscal update.
The Liberals are carefully trying to deflect any blame, meeting today with the CEO of Ford Canada, who gushed about government support.
It's one of the reasons why Ford Motor Company has been so successful in Canada.
While the Conservatives argue the Liberals could be doing more.
I'm suggesting that carbon tax is making Canada a less attractive place to do business and to produce things.
Though it's hard to blame too much on the economic environment in Canada when the U.S. is being hit too.
I said, you know, this country's done a lot for General Motors. You better get back in there soon.
Few Canadian politicians are even that hopeful. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa.